computer. We're recording.
All right. Got it. All right. Thanks for joining the Make Guitar podcast. It is May 22nd as we're recording this. And today we're going to talk about fuzz. And we're going to talk about the End of Days Fuzz Challenge and why you should get involved. Um, so, how you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. I recorded a song today. Wasn't the best. I was going to say it's uninspired, but it was actually inspired by Mudhoney, who I saw last night. And uh, I called it dirt syrup. So, I mean, you can tell it's not that inspired, but Mudhoney did inspire me to, to write a song. Um, so I used fuzz. I used the woolly mammoth um, for all of the guitar tracks except for the bass. And that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, the woolly mammoth sounds great on guitar.
Yeah.
I think it was originally marketed as like a bass fuzz, but it sounds great on guitar.
Yeah, well, when we were in a band together and I would try to use it on the bass, it seemed like it cut the volume quite a bit. So I'm kind of digging it on guitar more so than bass. Um, but
You
I
couldn't
think we
turn the volume up, even with the volume all the way up. You felt like there was a drop.
um yeah, with the volume all the way up on the pedal, I think I'd need to turn up the volume on my amp, and at that point, then you don't really have the ability to cut in and cut out with the pedal.
Huh. So it's not the volume though, but maybe it's like the compression or the nature of the sound. Like you know how sometimes like fuzz pedals disappear in the mix
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think
unless
that's
they're really
ultimately what
really
it
loud.
is. Sorry?
Unless they're really really loud.
Unless they're really, really loud. Yeah, like if you were, you know, um, King Buzzo or something like that, then uh, you're just kind of like always using fuzz.
Yeah. Yeah, but the woolly mammoth sounds pretty good. You know what I'm working on right now is I made a fuzz. And I started by kind of cloning the woolly mammoth. You know, it's basically a fuzz face with an extra pot, you know. It's also NPN based. So the original fuzz face was PNP type transistors, and that meant you had to have a battery because
Mm-hmm.
it was positive ground. So like the positive lead of your battery was going to ground in the circuit, right? Um, but the woolly mammoth uses NPN transistors, so those we can use a positive or a negative ground, and then you can use it with a power supply, like the regular power supplies, you know. And they're silicon transistors too, so they're cheap and easy to get. So actually, woolly mammoth is like pretty easy build, you know. But it's based on the fuzz face. So anyway, so I built one up on the breadboard, and then I added this like two band tone control to the end. So it's like a they call it like a James tone control, you know. And then I put an extra transistor on the end to boost the volume, you know, and make that output impedance a lot higher, right, or lower.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it sounds super cool. I mean, do you think you're gonna have to put it in a bigger box because you have the extra control, extra tone controls?
Oh well, it's not in a box right now. It's just on the breadboard, but I think you could still fit it in one of these boxes. Like I'm going to aim for this box. It'll
Mm-hmm.
have two knobs on the bottom row and three in the top.
Oh, okay.
And I'll put the LED between the two pots right here, so the LED will go in the middle, right?
Cool. So you're designing the circuit board for it now.
Yeah, I think it sounded pretty good on the breadboard, so I thought like, oh, I'll just make a circuit board, you know, and then actually build one, you know. I
Cool.
think this might sound good with bass too, because you can turn the bass control all the way up if you want to hear a lot of bass. Then you can hear a lot of the sub bass, you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that might do it. That might be the thing that that I'm looking for. Um, I generally don't use any effects on bass anymore, but um, I don't know. Fuzz sounds good on bass.
Yeah, it does. It can sound really good. Hold on one sec. I'm gonna
Okay.
shut the door.
Okay. So I do have a question. I hope you can still hear me. But like the added from the Fuzz Face to the woolly mammoth, the knob that's added, is that the pinch control?
Yeah, yeah, that's what they label it on the woolly mammoth, right? There's kind of a resistor that goes from, like, this is kind of the fuzz face, right? There's a resistor that goes from the emitter of the second transistor back to the base of the first transistor, right?
Hmm.
And then Zvex put up, or actually, I think it's this guy Chuck Zawicki, who, and he kind of licensed the thing to Zvex, and then Zvex makes the woolly mammoth for him, right? But or his idea, right? But he put a pot there, so now that resistor between the emitter and base is kind of adjustable. I'm
Okay.
not quite sure what that does. It does. There's some kind of feedback going on where you're getting some of the signal from the second transistor fed back into the first transistor.
Hmm. Well, I didn't use it today. I have, in the past, but I basically trying to use I was trying to keep the thing under control. Um, and it occurs to me I need to try out some different um, fuzz effects, some different circuits. Like, um, I'm not ready to enter the fuzz pedal challenge myself, but uh, I I definitely think I'll have some ideas if I get to work on on um, like a fuzz factory or whatever. I've got a pile of circuit boards that I need to get to work on, but
Nice.
the Big Muff or something like that would maybe be a good next build for me after I work on the super frequency, which is also called the ugly face.
Yeah. Right. Hey, you said the fuzz challenge. Let me
Yes.
hear this for a minute. Yeah, we should all talk about that for a second, right? So here's the End of Days Fuzz challenge. I don't know. I found this on the internet just surfing around, right? And they're like, oh, great, we're just doing this thing for fun. Just make a fuzz pedal, in 2022. So it ends in December, right? And then just post it to Instagram with the hashtag End of Days Fuzz, End of Days Fuzz challenge, right?
Hmm.
So it's not a competition. There's no prizes or anything, but it's just fun just to see what people make, right? There's somebody
Yeah.
on Instagram I've seen already that was doing it, or at least came up with one pedal, but I think we should come up with more, and contribute something.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that I think what we want to do is promote this because um, there's always room for more fuzz in the world.
Yeah. You know what I did? Let me show you one more thing, right? So this is their homepage, and what I did was I wrote a blog post. So this End of Days Fuzz Challenge blog post on my site, right? Um, it has some guides to getting started. So hey, how to get started? Well, start with one of these circuits. So I got a link to each of these you could check out. These are kind of like, out of all the fuzz pedals and distortion boxes you see, they probably evolve from one of these pedals here,
Hmm.
right? And then you could get a breadboard and start breadboarding your work. Here's some places to order some parts from, right? And then here's just some notes on like what that stuff is, right? So you could use the pad per hole board, the Vero board, or you could make your own circuit board, right?
Very
There's
nice.
some resources there. I'm gonna claim that my first pedal here with the fuzz face with the two band tone controls in my first entry. I
Yeah.
think it's almost done, so I'm gonna call it done pretty soon.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good thing. I'm definitely curious to hear it.
Yeah, I was trying to make a demo of it. I had this issue like the fuzz face like wants to work best if it's connected directly to your guitar. It doesn't like to have a
Hmm.
buffer in front. Most pedals prefer to have a buffer, right? You're doing better, but there's something about the fuzz face where it doesn't like having a buffer. So what I did is I recorded a loop on the Boss loop station thing, right? And and then I was going to play the loop back and then play with the knobs on the pedal to record it, right? But it doesn't sound as good with the Boss pedal in front of it. Like if I plug a guitar into it, it sounds better.
Hmm. What suffers
I don't know, it
from
just sounds
having
a
a
little tinnier, a little treblier,
interesting?
you know?
Yeah, I actually had my compressor in um, before the fuzz when I was recording today's song, and I think that maybe was an an error because
Hmm.
it definitely felt, yeah, it seemed like it was weakened, but I
Hmm.
didn't think about that.
Yeah, so anyway, so I don't know, maybe I'll do a different recording, but that was just kind of an annoying thing that I realized, I had read people say that too. Then again, maybe it doesn't matter too much, I don't know. But that was something I noticed, Anyway, you know what I did this week too, just for fun, is I put this pick guard that I got into this guitar. It's got these three single coils, and then it's got like six switches down here, kind of like the Brian May switching, right? You know?
That's very cool, and those look like kind of like the Brian May pickups as well.
Well, they're the guitar fetish, Brighton Rocks pickups, but then they're
Hmm.
supposed to be like, they kind of claim they're Brian May, but I'm sure it's like you got to take it with a grain of salt. They do sound good though. I would say that this guitar sounds excellent.
If you play it with a coin, maybe it'll sound exactly like Brian May.
You got to have the coin, yeah,
Yeah.
it has it sounds really good. Like the pickups sound good. They're kind of strong. They have a great single coil kind of sound. Um, there's a lot of sounds with the six switches, so you get a lot of combinations of stuff. I'm not sure, but I think the pickups are wired in series on this guitar too, on this pick guard, right?
Okay.
Because they could be wired like a regular, in parallel, right? Like regular Strat pickups, but I think they're wired in series because they get a little louder every time you turn one on.
Oh, okay.
But I guess that could still happen in series in parallel too. I don't know, but they just it sounds a little different. So I kind of thinking that they wired it in series.
Okay.
It has a single tone control, and I think there might be a mistake in the wiring on the tone control because it doesn't seem to do anything, right? And then, or at least it's not audible, right?
Hmm.
Or I can't tell, right? Except when you get all the way to the very end, and then actually if you turn it all the way down, the pickup, everything goes quiet.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Yes, I think there's a mistake in the wiring. I'm gonna check it, but that means I have to take it all apart again.
Oh yeah, that's
So I
the thing that
didn't,
sucks about strats.
yeah, so then I was like, well, I'm gonna just ignore that for a while because I just put it together.
Right.
It plays
And
pretty.
it's not. It's the pre-wired pickguard is not something that Guitar Fetish sells, right? Let's
Oh, good question. I think they used to sell it.
okay.
I don't know if they still had it, but I think they sold it in the past. So this might be one that somebody built themselves, or it might be one that was pre-wired. I don't know. I just bought it on eBay used.
Mm.
It was $80. So I'm like, $80, that's not bad. That's like less than $30 a pickup, right? Like if you paid $30 a pickup, that'd be a pretty reasonable deal. But I got that and the pick guard and the switches and everything wired for $80. So that's a pretty
Yeah.
good deal.
Well, I mean, it looks like a kind of a pain in the ass to wire up all the switches too. I would guess
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of wires in there.
because there's like three position switches on it, right?
Yeah.
And what do they do?
Oh, well, there's three rows of little like sliding switches.
Mm-hmm.
So the bottom row turns each pickup on or off, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you could have like the two neighbors on or the two opposite ends on or all three on or any one particular pickup on, right? And then the three switches in the top row set the phase of the pickup.
Mm.
So if you
Okay.
pick it, if it's in if one's up and one's down, then those two pickups are out of phase.
Interesting. Okay, so it's kind of like the Mustang, like the original configuration for the Mustang that you've got the out of phase option.
Yeah, but with three pickups,
Right.
right? So, you know, it's got the extra pickup, so you can, you know, you could have like two out of phase or one in phase and two out of phase, you know, or I don't know, every other one out of phase, you know, I don't know, you could set it up in weird ways, right?
Yeah. So does it sound good out
Yeah,
of
it sounds
phase?
great. It
Okay.
sounds surprisingly good. Yeah, I was really impressed. You know, I'm having some issues though, because like I said, the tone control doesn't seem to be working. And then the pickguard, the holes for the screws are not exactly the same as the other pickguard. They're just off by a little bit. And then there's an
Mm-hmm.
extra one in the middle here, you know, right? And then so I have to drill it maybe a new hole, like a starter hole in a couple places, right? But the other thing is the bridge pickup doesn't quite align underneath the high E string. So it's like I got to move the pickguard, just shift it a tiny bit like this, like give it a little rotation. But then that means the holes that do exist, I got to re-drill those because now they don't align with the screws, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Pain in the ass.
Yeah, yeah, it's just kind of a hassle. Right now it all works, so I'm just playing with it. But maybe later when I change the strings or something, you know,
Yeah. I
I'll
mean,
try to fix those other things.
that probably doesn't even matter that much. If like if the whole piece is perfectly aligned on the bridge pickup, but I don't know. It feels better when everything's lined up.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, you
So one of
know.
the things I like about these pickups is it doesn't matter if it's not lined up perfectly. They're just a straight line.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know. But
Oh,
otherwise, it was pretty much a success.
and this is I have the ability to turn on the neck pickup and the bridge pickup at the same time,
Oh
and
yeah,
then I
great.
can I can do single or double. So that's cool.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, see that gives you a lot of sounds, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean I usually use either single or double on the bridge only on this guitar. And I have another one with the same pickups and the same switching, and I pretty much either use the bridge pickup in the single or double mode. Um, I don't. I guess I don't really feel the need to venture out of that much.
Yeah.
I was watching a video about Mick Mars the other day, and like recently, I guess in the entire span of Mick Mars's career, um, recently he's been using like a vintage Strat that's HSH. He's got a humbucker in the bridge and the neck, and then the original single coil in the middle. But he just keeps it in the bridge position all the time, and I'm assuming it's a humbucker all the time. Like he doesn't have like coil splitting or anything like that. Um, but that's a great sound. Like just going into a Marshall stack,
Yeah.
you don't need
Yeah,
more
right.
than that.
Actually, you know, you were talking about Mudhoney.
Mm-hmm.
So I built this pedal, this Bork, right?
Great name.
I wrote a blog post about it. There's a guy, let me share my screen here, right? So I wrote a post about the Bork here. So you can check out the Bork post right there. This is from like I got this circuit board from this guy at Breakfast Audio, right? And the original, this is like a clone of this thing called the Ibanez Wow Wow Fuzz, right? Which I
Okay.
guess was a like what I could figure out. Originally it was like a wah pedal with a fuzz built into it. So a fuzz
Wow.
and a wah in the same device, right? You could turn one on and turn the other one on too, right? So I built the circuit board and then I milled this enclosure and I put it in here. But the circuit is interesting because it's based on the super fuzz, right? So it's very speaking of Mudhoney and they didn't call their album Big Muff Super Fuzz for nothing, right? I'm sure they were using those pedals. So
Right.
this is kind of an Ibanez version of the Super Fuzz. There was a lot of versions of the Super Fuzz, like a lot of people made it in different ways, but this one sounds pretty good. super fuzzy. It's kind of an octave fuzz. So
Okay.
it's like, it's basically like a full wave rectifier, kind of like that Bob Tavia that we talked about, but it uses transistors instead of the inductor.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, I forgot about the inductor. Yeah. Um,
it's the circuit board for the guy. I like the circuit board. It was really nice, but it has to fit into like a 1590 BB, like the bigger enclosure, because it's about as wide as this enclosure, the whole circuit board, so you can't put it in a small box.
okay. Even
But
if you cut off the oil drips at the bottom.
yeah, even then, maybe, I don't know, it'd be tough fit, right? But yeah, it's pretty good. I kind of checked it out, and it seemed to me like this first transistor should go in backwards from what it shows on the silk screen here.
Hmm.
You know, um, I put it in backwards and it worked for me, but I checked it with my multimeter first against the schematic. I had to ask the guy for the schematic, but he sent it to me in an email. It's not on the website as far as I could tell. But then I checked it, and it seemed like the gate or the source and the gate or the source and the drain were swapped. But I don't know. That could have just been the transistor I was using, or whatever. But I think I was using the one that was spec'd in the thing, and it works. So you know, or it seemed to work, right?
Yeah, and you
It
said it
seemed,
sounds pretty good.
yeah, it sounds pretty good actually. It's super fuzzy. I get kind of a whine with mine, but I think the problem is I'm plugging it into a power supply, right? So the noise from the power supply is going into it, because I realized the circuit that the guy had drawn up on the Bork doesn't have any power filtering or reverse polarity protection, right?
Hmm.
So like I feel like he copied the original schematic from the original pedal that ran on a 9-volt battery and didn't have a power supply, right? So that back then they're like, oh great, there's no ripple or no noise in this battery, right? They weren't even thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, that reminds me of there was a short video by Phil McKnight where he was like, if you have like old broken electronics that have that little um, 9-volt clip, don't throw them away. Cut that little thing off and make a little, like battery accessory for your pedals so that you can have isolated power. Or if you're too lazy to open up your pedals and put the battery inside, you can just stick them in there before a gig. I think that's a really great idea for pedals like that. If you're trying to isolate the noise, just have that little clip wired um, to a plug that you can stick in your pedals.
Yeah, I could have just built this one with a battery. It could have been like the original. You could just put a battery in the box, and but I don't use batteries these days, because like you have to sooner or later you just throw them all away and they cost money.
Right. Yeah, I know.
So I'm just like I haven't made a pedal that used a battery in years. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I put one in the that kit delay that I built um, the other week, just because it was part of the kit and I didn't want to strip it out. But I'm never going to use it. I'm never going to open up the box to cram a battery in there.
Yeah, right. It's no point. I made another enclosure. I actually have a circuit board for a Super Fuzz.
Hmm.
I don't know if I showed this yet. Let me go find it here.
Yeah. Did you make the circuit board?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Oh, here it is on the desk here. Here's the Super Fuzz circuit board.
Cool.
So now I just have to put it together. So I made an enclosure, and I engraved it Super Fuzz, right? Giant letters. I kind of tried to do this a little bit with a different bit in the mill. So I used this bigger, like 1/8 square fluted, I forget what they call it, right? But I use that bit here, and it's kind of rougher around the edges. And then I screwed up a couple times too. It's hard to tell, but there's a couple spots where like the bit went too deep.
Hmm. Okay.
I thought I measured everything, and then it seemed to be off by a huge amount, but I don't know. So I don't know if I'm going to do this one again. I think this looks better. I did this with the engraving bit, but it takes like a long time because the bit has a very sharp point, so it just has to keep going and going over the same area. The 1/8 inch bit just like hogs out all this stuff really fast, right? But maybe I gotta fine tune how I use that bit, you know. But anyway, this I'm gonna work on this week, and then we'll get this done.
Cool. Well, I have to say that I'm amazed that the corners of your letters actually look pretty good for using the bigger bit.
Oh, well, you know what? I used two bits. So I
Oh,
used the
okay.
engraving bit and I used that other 1/8 inch bit. So it went through and it like drew the corners really quickly with the engraving bit, and then it set to work in the middle to get everything else with the bigger bit.
Okay.
So it was a lot faster. Like it might have taken like 30 minutes to do it with the engraving bit, and then it would take like 2 minutes with the 1/8 inch bit, you know, and a couple minutes to do the corners with the engraving bit, right?
Cool. Um, yeah, I'm working at a place that has these laser etchers, and I'm curious, like how long or how well that would work for lasing off the the paint from one of those boxes.
That's a good one. I would just look it up on the interwebs. That's a
Oh,
great one, dude. We got to collaborate on that with
yeah.
laser machinery.
Yeah, everything's better with lasers.
Yeah, it is, right? Um, but yeah, I bet you could look that up on the internet because those boxes, like these are some are different, like they have different, they could be paint, they could have a clear coat, there's all sorts of things, but these are usually powder coated.
Mm-hmm.
So powder coat is just like a plastic that they kind of bake on there. So I'm sure and it's not, it's kind of got a thickness, but it's not too thick, right? You know, I'm sure you could burn that off. You could look that up. I'm sure someone's done it, right? It's
Right, right.
the thing that people are doing. So figure out what someone else's experience is and get the numbers, right? So it's probably like
Right,
some power level and some speed feed with the laser, you know?
right. Yeah, I mean, what we do at work, if it's not making a a clear enough mark, you just double it up.
Yeah,
Sometimes, do two passes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
There
probably another way to do that.
there could be a thing with like toxic fumes as the laser burns the powder coat away.
Yeah.
So I don't know if your thing has a fan on it or not, but I might look that up too, you know?
Well, yeah, that we use a fan, like, um, and we're kind of outdoors, um, so there's a fan blowing the fumes out, and I wear a mask when I'm using it. But
Okay.
I
Let's
was thinking
let's
you'd enjoy um, having a run with this.
yeah, let's collaborate on something there, right? I'll come up with some design if you want to laser etch it and we'll see what it looks like, you know?
All right.
That'd be super cool, yeah. So anyway, so that's coming up, you know. I got a couple other circuit boards here that I'm building. There was a guy on the internet, he asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to trade me for one of these boards that you made?" Because I made this tremolo and he was interested in it. So he's like, "Hey, I'll trade you something." So he sent me a circuit board. This is like a PT 2399 delay, right? It's just like the typical delay. Um, you know, these are pretty common, right? But anyway, it's kind of cool. It's got like a board here where this foot switch and the
Hmm.
two input and output jack goes and the LED goes on here. And then the effect goes here on this board.
And do they double up with a standoff or something, or are they do they land in
Ooh,
different places on the?
I think I think they'll go into the
Okay.
box like this, right? Actually, it'll be like this,
Mm, okay.
right? You know, there'll be a little gap here between them, kind of like let's see here. You know, like they'd fit right in the box here,
Okay.
you know,
That looks pretty
right?
good.
Yeah. And then they'll have a little ribbon cable connecting them, you know? So I think this is pretty cool, right? Um, he said something about the pots being wired backwards by mistake.
Mm,
So
okay.
then I was wondering, I wonder if I could just rotate these 180 degrees. I think it would still fit. It's just the two on the top would be down here, and this one in the middle, the pot would be right here, you know?
Hmm.
So I think I'm going to ask him to clarify on that, and then I think I'm going to do that. So anyway, so I got that to build. I got a bunch of other ones too, that need some building, you know.
Yeah, always
I,
building.
actually, here's another one. You know, I don't know if I should this. Steve had some circuit boards made in like created and assembled in China somewhere. So you can see there's a bunch of parts on here.
Mm-hmm.
So the big parts like this one, and this guy right here, and this and these diodes like that, right? They're get a little more light on there, right? I had to solder those, but all of the other parts like these capacitors right here, and then all those little tiny, teeny tiny parts that are these little resistors that are against the board, they all came soldered on here. So he had a couple of these made and he sent me one. He did it
Well,
too
that's
with the
awesome.
little
Looks great.
switching board right here
Mm-hmm.
too. So I'm gonna build that, you know. I got
That's super
more
cool.
too.
Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of like fired up about now that I've built a couple pedals. I'm kind of fired up to get moving on some of your pedals on your circuit boards. Um, but I'm gonna need some help identifying them
Oh, sure.
because yeah,
And let me know. Usually there'll be a silk screen, but not always. And a couple of them I forgot to do the silk screen, but usually on the silk screen it'll say the name of the pedal. And if you go to my website, I have a list of project pages, and you can just go to one of those project pages. It should be named the same.
I mean, I guess I can just match up the visuals. Like if it doesn't say on the silk screen, I can just like say, oh well, it's shaped like this. It's got those those holes on it. Just match it up to
Yeah, or
the.
you show it to me, and I'll tell you what it is because
Okay.
I know, right? Or you can just look on my website at the projects, and the picture will be the same. You know.
Right. Okay.
You know, usually it says on there what it is, right? You know, like this one says like it's got Super Freak over here, and then on this side it's like Stompboxology, and it says Tremolo X, right? Version
Right.
one. I put a version number on there too, right? So you know, like here's a yellow one. I think remind me the yellow one you should do with the black silk screen because the white silk screen is hard to read on the yellow one.
Okay.
You know, on the yellow solder mask. Yeah, see, here's another one. This is like it says Tremolo 22 at the bottom there, you know. So they usually have a name on them, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm gonna build yet. I was kind of thinking I was gonna go with the big muff because of I want to get thinking about um, the end of days fuzz challenge.
Yeah, dude, build the Big Muff. Big Muff is great, you know.
Right, and I just you always need more fuzz.
Yes, definitely more fuzz, right?
Yeah, I actually, I was working on my song today, and I was like, I should probably have the guitars sound different. Like I should even use different guitars, but like I should have used different fuzzes or different settings on the fuzz, because if you were in a band, no one's going to sound exactly like, the other. You're not using identical equipment, or there's no separation. So, um, I think that's why you need all of these pedals, so that if you're if you're going to like record music on your own, it doesn't sound like like you just have one voice.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I do a lot is I'll just switch the pickups. So I'll record with like the bridge pickup, then I'll record with the neck pickup, and then I'll record with both, you know, or I'll
Hmm.
record with the tone control turned down or something, you know. Right. I always
Yeah.
have to remember to name the tracks with which pickup I use, and then I can tell what's what a little easier, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good tip. I think I just used lead and bass and stuff like that, um, but actually naming them with the pickup configuration.
Yeah. In GarageBand, you know what you can do is you can name, you know how you have those little snippets of sound, like you have a track, and then on the track you can have little clips, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can name each of those clips.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
if you click on it and then you go to the lower right side, there's a detail thing that shows you just that clip in big form, and you can see the waveform on the right side, but then on the left side, um, there's like a couple little boxes, and you can set some options. And then one of them, it doesn't look like you can change the name of it, but it's got the name of the track. You know, it'll say like take one, but you can click on that and it'll let you edit it and you can name it whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
I
see where
found
that
that to
is.
be super useful because
Should
then
I should
naming
I share my screen?
the timeline.
I can just show this. I think you have to enable screen
Oh,
sharing,
yeah,
but
you want to try it out?
I'll
Yeah,
just
try it out.
do a quick demo.
Yeah, let's check that out because it's super useful.
Okay, so what you do is you double click on the, well, I already had it open, but you double click on that track and you get this kind of close up view of your region,
Yeah.
and then it's this field right here.
Yeah. So that's super cool that you can edit that because then you can just name it. So even if you have the same clip, like you just copied it, you could name it like chorus one, chorus two, or something, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty useful. Or if you have a bunch of takes, like I see you have a couple spots where you have like four takes, you know, like you could, I think you can name each of the takes.
Right. Oh, that's cool. So,
Actually, maybe you can't. Maybe you can do that. I
whoops,
don't know.
sorry. Um, let's see. That one I think was only one take, but let's this one. No, it just plays it. Sorry.
Pretty
Um,
fuzzy.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, maybe you can't rename the takes. I thought you could switch and then name them.
okay. Maybe you could switch it, but
Maybe click on track there.
no.
Well, I guess it doesn't give you a spot to name it though. Shoot. Oh well. Yeah, I spoke too soon, but I was thinking that'd be a really cool idea.
Maybe if you select it first. So I'm gonna say guitar 3, verse 3, take 2. When it take 1, and then so that's done. Um, and now I'll switch it to take 2. No, you can't do it. Okay, well we
All
learned.
right.
Okay, but there's a good amount of labeling that you can do in GarageBand.
Yeah, labeling your songs is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, especially when they get big. If you've been working on something for a while, you're bound to have a lot of little clips and things like that.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of music, did you hear any good music this week? What'd you listen to?
I heard some great music this week. I actually went to see a bunch of bands recently. Um, uh, my favorite thing um, from the week was this band from Ireland called Just Mustard, who opened up for Fontaines DC at the Regency Ballroom last weekend. Um, they have a terrible name. I mean, let's face it. Just Mustard is not a good name for a band, but they sound great. They're very like inventive. It's kind of a well. Have you heard of a band called Cranes? Cranes.
Maybe.
Okay, they're kind of like it's a little gothy, um, but there's some good noise involved in this Just Mustard stuff. I highly recommend checking it out. They have a lot of stuff on Bandcamp. Not all of their full albums are available, but I'd recommend like going through it. Like go to their first album and listen to what they have there. Fontaines DC was pretty great also, um, but yeah, my tastes run more for Just Mustard. And then I went to uh, the Cruel World Festival in Pasadena, and I saw Bauhaus, Blondie, the English Beat, um, uh, Missing Persons,
Devo.
Devo, and let's see, I saw Morissey, um, The Damned. Um, I think Bauhaus was probably, they were the tops of that.
Nice.
And they have a new well, no, they have an album out that they put out in 2008, and that's since the last time I saw them. So that was cool. So yeah, check out Bauhaus's new 2008 album. It sounds like Bauhaus.
Nice. Yeah, I went to um, this swap meet this weekend, and it was it was down at the Rickshaw Stop, so it was in San Francisco, but it was also beta breakers that day, so maybe that discouraged people because not a lot of people
Mm.
showed up.
It's hard to get around on Beta Breakers.
Yeah, the city's kind of tied up in a knot on that
Yeah.
day. you know. So maybe they'll do it again in 6 months, they said. But there was maybe like six tables of people there, and a few people came in and checked stuff out. I tried to sell some pedals. I sold one pedal and a couple circuit boards, you
Okay.
know.
Was it similar? Like the did it seem like some of the same people as maybe the Berkeley swap meet?
I thought there was a couple people, and I asked, and nobody had heard of the Berkeley one.
Hmm. Okay.
They'd never heard of it. But anyway, I met one guy there who has a band on Bandcamp called Wander, and they were pretty good. They're kind of like he describes them as post rock shoegaze.
Oh, cool. I like
Um,
post rock shoegaze.
yeah, I check them out. I thought they were pretty good. He said they did a live stream at Bandcamp. I didn't realize Bandcamp was in Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess
They're local.
they have a show space now, so it's kind of like in person, like you can go there.
Oh,
They
that's
have
super cool.
records too. They have records, so they said you can go into this listening room and just play vinyl if you want to in
Oh,
their
that's great.
office.
Very cool. Yeah, Bandcamp is they get cooler every time you hear about them.
Yeah. So anyway, so I met that guy. I listened to his album. I thought it was pretty good. You know. Yeah. Got
Cool.
anything else to say? Should we close out on something?
Um, no, I just it's been a big week of music, you know, music going to, you know. I just want to say, like, if you're a fan of music, go out and see live music. It's happening again all over the place. Every band from the 80s till now is on tour right now. So go out and support your artists. Um, the it's not. I wouldn't say like the pandemic is over, but maybe it is. But go out and support your musicians.
Yeah. I just agree. Okay.
Good. Okay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. See you later.